Go to the next pod, which is the we've done the incoming team. No, that's it. That's what we have next.
This is the American.
Yeah, this is.
I call it the American to be respectful because the real label for it would be the G5 pod. If you were doing it, and that's not an insult. That's not a bad label. It's just those were the G5 teams that were brought in all together. So it's the G5 pod. 3 teams are from the American, and I just felt like that's a little bit people swallow that easier, the American pod. So that's why I went with that.
I don't like that G5.
Yeah,
and neither do they. So let's do 2 of them together. Houston at Cincinnati.
This is a game. I think Cincinnati.
This is a game.
This is a game that's really interesting in the fact that neither of these teams have expectations at all. And Houston has not shown much this year outside of being very valiant in that Oklahoma game. But, Cincinnati looks like they got an offense now that can move the ball a little bit. They've got playmakers that can run, they can throw. Sorsby's an upgrade. I'll take Cincinnati at home, but I don't think that this is going to be one other than let's see how these teams are developing to write home about.
Yeah, Sorsby had probably his worst game last week against Miami of Ohio, but he's still, like you said, an upgrade over what they've had so far in the Big 12, which is just a year and some change at this point, but still, that holds. And obviously you love Corey Kiner, and there's some fun weapons there. I mean, they really needed that win against Miami of Ohio last week, or else there would have been some kerosene surrounding Scott Satterfield's desk in his office, because there's already kind of a feeling building of like he's not the guy, or just unhappiness with the program. And granted, they're coming off Luke Fickell and making the college football playoffs, so it's pretty big shoes to fill. But had they lost to Miami of Ohio, then that would have been really interesting. Fortunately, they took care of business there on the road. But I think if anybody's coming in with momentum, it's Houston. Houston going from looking like the absolute worst team in the Big 12, at least through the first week or two, and to now looking like a team that's fighting and playing really, really hard for Willie Fritz and is actually pretty good on defense. And
I like the way they bounced back and took care of business.
I think they've definitely got more mojo going right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they're the better team. And so this game's in Cincinnati. Again, if you want to add that to the advantage or whatever, I do think that makes a little bit of a difference here. And I think I'd pick Cincinnati regardless, because I think they're a bit further along at this point, and their quarterback's playing better at this point. So, I think Cincinnati's just in a weird spot. I mean, just got to continue to watch them more to see where they're going to fall ultimately. But on the Houston side of things, I am very encouraged by the response to the start of the year and the play against Oklahoma, and then beating Rice handily in the Bayou Bucket game. And turns out, guys, UNLV is a pretty good team. So that first week loss isn't like, oh my God, you lost. I mean, it is, you lost by 20, but it's not like it was some team that's not even all that good. UNLV is a pretty good team, and that was the first game of the year. So I think they've gotten better since then. I'll take Cincinnati here, but I like the upward trajectory of Houston, even though it's going to take a while, and I'm still just not certain where Cincinnati falls in the big picture.
Kansas State, we brought them up. At BYU, we brought this game up. At BYU is a part of the American or G5 pod, in entering the ones who entered the first foursome, and now we have four new ones this year. BYU, 3-0. We've discussed Arizona State at 3-0. BYU going into SMU with a nice win. TCU plays SMU this week, but Kalani Sitake and the Cougars they're not going down without a fight.
No, I think that
they'll need a fight this weekend.
And I think they've got some scrap to them for sure. That like his attitude, the coaching staff's attitude, but they are going to be out athleted at every position. So they're going to need this game to be. Kansas State feels a little, it's late in the day and it's 9:30 their time. They need all those outside factors. They need to maybe converge at once on Kansas State, because speed-wise, skill-wise, everything else is going to be in K-State's favor. So this is probably 3-1 for them. But, again, if all those little kind of outside things that can nibble at K-State can get them to, in a funk, that BYU has shown, look, if you're gonna let us hang around, we'll hang around. So I just don't see that happening this week.
Yeah, Jake Ritzloff has been the guy. We finally got to see a little bit of Gary Bohannon, but it was tail end of the game, and it's clearly Retzloff's team at this point, and he performed really well last week. Probably his best. I don't know. Maybe that first week you liked what you saw a little bit better, but Wyoming's not very good. The game that stands out to me about BYU is going to SMU and winning that game and finding a way to hold on and make the plays necessary. That really spoke to, I think, kind of the belief and just the fight that this team has, and I think that's going to bode really well for them moving forward. I haven't seen enough to think that they're just going to go beat Kansas State, though. I'm not ready to go there right now, but I do think BYU is a touch better than I expected them to be.
Typical Big 12 with some teams a little bit better than we thought.
Kind of had them in the bottom 4 to start off the season, and I think they're going more towards 11, 10, and could work their way up a little bit higher. I don't know how much higher than that. I think they're probably middle, at best maybe slightly above middle, but they've moved some spots upwards since the season started. So I like that about them, but I don't like that enough, like I said, to expect them to beat Kansas State, even though it's at home and at night. I'm just I need to see more from them to expect that at this point.
And then UCF with the off week, they host Colorado. Not this weekend, but next weekend after Colorado hosts Baylor on Saturday evening.
And they had arguably the best win of the entire weekend last weekend, the most exciting, or however you want to label it. I mean, they were definitely one of the highlights of the entire slate with their comeback win over TCU, and that was a monster win for Gus Malzahn and that football team. You're very encouraged by KJ Jefferson looking better and better every week and looking more like a dude. That first week, that was clearly just an outlier, and him getting comfortable and getting back in the saddle with a new team and all of that, because since then he's played pretty well, and that's a dangerous ass running game, man. They really are loaded up, and when he's rolling too, good luck stopping all of that that they're throwing at you, from RJ Harvey to KJ Jefferson and so on and so forth, Montgomery, and on and on and on. That run game's ridiculous. Yeah. So that's going to be a pain for Big 12 teams if they have to throw the ball around to win a game. What does that look like? But We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
They have 4 guys that can run the ball really well. Penny Boone was a big they got Penny Boone.
Yeah.
I mean, so far,
he's been a good cleanup hitter that you put in late, and he just comes in,
knocks people around. But RJ Harvey's legit one of the best in the country.
He's the dude.
And he's the dude. Montgomery's really good, and then they've got some wide receiver, Kobe Hudson in particular, that can make some plays. Yeah. So as more people crash in to stop the run, that makes it easier for KJ Jefferson not to have to make multiple reads on a defense and just go, all right, the touchdown pass. It was pretty much him to Kobe Hudson, and there wasn't a whole lot he had to do other than that to win the game. So, I really like what they've got going on offense. Got to get better on defense. Them and Oklahoma State have similar issues to me, where offensively I really like what they have going. Defensively, got to get better. Yeah,
UCF's got an argument for the best skill players in the league. I think they're certainly in that conversation. So that's a strength of theirs in that run game in particular. But that was a massive win for them. That totally changes. Obviously the way you were looking at that game when it looked like the outcome was going to be what it was, and you're starting to go oh, okay, well, we're going to lose this one. What does that look like after? But to swoop in there and steal a win, man, that gives you just an incredible amount of juice that has people now talking about UCF as where are they in Big 12 contention? Where are they in the mix if this continues to progress the right way? The one thing other than just getting better on defense or getting better here or there is I just hope that there doesn't seep in too much outside toxicity when it comes to Malzahn in Arkansas or something along those lines. That's what Florida. I would worry about. Or Florida, Florida job for Malzahn or the Arkansas job for Malzahn. He's being mentioned just naturally as a candidate because it just makes sense, both of those spots with his background. But there's also probably, because of that, some level of interest, so it makes sense. But that would be the one thing I'd go, let's just try to not let that become a distraction, and we should be okay.
All right, so we went through 8 teams, and of course UCF, as we mentioned, with an off week. When we come back,